Wir dürfen nun begrüßen vom Messerli Forschungsinstitut Giulia Cimarelli mit ihrem Talk Is the Human the Dog's Best Friend? Bühne frei, Giulia.
Hello, good evening. I'm Giulia and I work at the Messerli Research Institute, and specifically I work at the Clever Dog Lab and at the Wolf Science Center. I'm a PhD student, and as most of you might know, being a PhD student is a really, really hard job. I mean, we collect data outside in the cold, we deal with a lot of statistical analysis, we have to do and write papers, and there is a lot of pressure on us, so it's a really, really hard job. I don't know why 3 years ago I had this malsane and crazy idea to start a PhD, because it's really, really stressful. I got coffee addicted, and basically my hair got gray or even fell. So yeah, it's horrible. Never do a PhD. Okay, now that I showed you a bunch of wolf puppies, I think I don't need to talk any further. I won, right? Well, actually, I didn't know if my supervisor would have come, so I actually decided to show what my working daily life looks like. So a lot of data and really boring stuff, actually. So, but what is my topic, in the topic of my PhD? It's the dog-human relationship. So often people say that the dog is human's best friend, but for my PhD, I wanted to ask the question in the other way. So I want to know if we, humans, are actually best friends for our dogs. So in this field, you can either go two ways. You can go and look at the dog behavior, so study the behavior of the dog, especially in relation to the owner. And otherwise, you can ask questions to owners. So you can create questionnaires and ask them, which is your attitude toward your relationship with your dog? What do you think about your dog? Yeah, but everybody lies in questionnaires. Who trusts them? So what I decided to do was actually to watch what people do. And the problem is in these questionnaires is that sometimes you have questions like, which kind of training do you use with your dog? Do you use always positive reinforcement? Have you ever used violence to train your dog? And people say, no, of course not. Me, never, never. So, well, I said it, I don't trust so much questionnaires, so I decided to actually look and watch what the people are doing with their dogs. So I invited people in the lab, and what came out was that, well, people are really, really different. People have really different ideas on how they should treat their dogs. You can find on one side people that think, well, oh, my poor puppy, they should never experience anything stressful, so they basically are hyperprotective grandma, and they don't allow the dogs to be dogs. And on the other side, you have people that think that in the dog world, it's like the wolf world, I don't know why, but it's basically full of violence, full of dominance, hierarchy, and stuff like that. So basically, you have to always show that you are the boss, otherwise the dog will never listen to you, and you basically have to be really, really careful and control everything the dog is doing, no matter which tool you will use, because otherwise the dog will take over the world. So you have to be really careful. But is it really the case? So for my PhD, I actually tried to compare the relationship that dogs have with their owners to the relationship that they form with other dogs, and then compare that to the relationship that wolves build with other wolves, because, I mean, people think sometimes, well, dogs are like wolves, we have to behave like wolves, or something like that. So I decided to design a test to measure the relationship between the dog and the owner, but then also between a dog and a wolf and a wolf. So it was a really complex test, and because a relationship is complex, and I think I would have made it too complicated and too boring to explain to you. So I decided to show it to you live. And maybe some of you know that at the Wolf Science Center we have really well-trained wolves. They can walk on a leash, and they are able to give the paw on commands and stuff like that. So, I don't know, we were really thinking about whether this was a good idea, and then I said, yeah, come on, it's for the Science Slam, we must do that. We must have wolves on the stage and show the people what does it mean to make a test with wolves. So, yeah, I asked the rectorate and so on, and they decided to say yes at the end, so I have to thank them. I would just say to the people in the first row to be a bit careful, maybe. They are really well trained, they are nice, they will never do, but just don't move your hands too much. Okay. Basically, the test was like that. I had a pair of wolves on one side of the experimental room, and I wanted to see how they would react to something surprising, and I was the stressful stimulus for the wolves. So basically, I was doing crazy things to them, and they were reacting all in different ways. So some of them were hiding, some of them were like pushing the other one. Yeah, and what came out from all of this? What can we conclude? Basically, all the wolves, but also all the dogs, when tested with another dog or when they were tested with their owner, were different. So basically, what we can conclude is that there is not such a thing like a rule in the relationship with our dog. So it's up to you as owners to decide whether to be like the hyper-protecting grandma, the despotic boss, or being just simply a best friend for your dog. So it's really, really up to you. Think about who you are and who your dog is, and then take your own decision. So thank you.
Vielen Dank, Giulia. Jetzt habe ich aber noch eine Frage an dich, und zwar, wie fühlt es sich jetzt an, so einen Wolf zu umarmen?
Wow, ich würde sagen, haarig. Ja.
Sehr aufschlussreich. Vielen Dank, Giulia.